Hello and welcome to Pest Perspectives. We are on episode
16.
so there we go, episode 16. I couldn't find it. I thought it'd run by the screen then, but episode 16, which is impressive. We've got to 16, but the general view is people are liking the podcast and learning bits and pieces. That's the goal of the podcast. If you can come out of a podcast, and even if you didn't learn loads, just a tiny bit that helps you, that's all that matters. It's all about helping other people in the community, and people from around the world can learn a bit about how we do it, because I obviously have people on from around the world now. I do. So it's been quite a demand to come on the podcast. I'm quite surprised I am. But yeah, this week we have Andrew Sanefski. No, is that right?
Yeah, Sanefski.
I
Sure.
was about to say, thought I'm going to butcher it. So from Perimetek Pest Management. Also, he's part of the Coast to Coast Pest Talk podcast, and he's also part of the New York Pest Management Association. That's well, I got that right.
Yeah.
So hello, how are you doing?
Shaun, I am super glad to be here. This is awesome.
Well, I tried to get Gabe on. Where are you, Gabe?
We can call him out from here. Gabe, come on, man. You only got 10 kids. You got time.
Yeah,
Let's.
exactly. You're not wrong though. 2 people are watching. Hello, live viewers.
Awesome.
So yeah, good to hear. Do you want to tell people, give people? I know I've mentioned it. Do you want to give people a quick brief of what you do in the industry and what you do? Because
Sure.
what I said won't mean much to people.
Sure. Yeah. So, I am the owner, along with my wife, of Perimetek Pest Management in East Syracuse, New York. It's upstate New York. We're not near the Statue of Liberty or the Empire State Building or anything like that. We're in farm country. We're
okay.
We're in near the wineries and things in the central part of the state, the Finger Lakes region here.
Nice.
It's all country up here. Started in pest management in 1997 as a summer job while I went to college, and have been on with this pretty much ever since. And it's just a way of life for us at this point. Currently, I'm on the board of directors for the New York Pest Management Association, which is the state affiliate of the National Pest Management Association for the whole United States. So that's pretty much where we're at here.
So how many companies are part of that one offshoot?
Oh my goodness. Of the New York Pest Management Association, I think there's something like 200, maybe something like that. Yeah, membership.
But yeah, that's just one area of America.
Yeah, that's
you make
just
us look tiny.
Well, yeah. New York's about geographically the same size as the UK.
Yeah.
Square miles. Yeah. Yep. A lot fewer people though in our state. We have about a third the number of people in New York State than you guys have. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But yeah. Has that covered it, or did I interrupt you? Sorry about that.
No, no. Well, and then on the podcast with Gabe Seymour, and he's out in Portland. He's on the other side of the continent for our Coast to Coast Pest Talk that we do, talking about everything under the sun related to pest control.
We do. It's very informative.
Oh, good.
It is. It is.
Awesome.
Just want to shout out Jenny in chat. Thank Jenny Wilson. Thanks for watching. From the Pestidrum podcast. I don't know if you've heard of that podcast.
Yeah, actually, what was today? You're too pretty to be in pest control, too cute to be in pest control. That was their episode. I think it was dropped today or yesterday.
I haven't caught it yet.
It was good stuff. It was
That's good.
It was spicy. So
I can't wait to check it out. I can't.
Yep.
So you mentioned you got into pest control in 97.
Yeah.
So that was working for was it working for a big box company, or was it working for a local company?
Yeah, it was a local company. I was fortunate enough to find my way into a family-owned company. Had about 20-ish, 25 people or so, something like that. and worked there for 11 years until they were sold to a very large organization. And I really only lasted about 6 months under, that large organization. And my wife and I at that point said, we never would have left the mom and pop company that we were brought up through, but with the changes that came in with the big box pest control, I just couldn't stomach it, and she said we're gonna go on our own, and that was sort of the auspicious beginnings of Perimetek.
That's fair enough. I mean, to anyone that is in the UK, when I say big box, I mean your national big companies like the big R and the big T, the big green T, as I hear.
Sure.
But the big green T doesn't exist here anymore.
No, absorbed up for sure.
They were, they were. But I want to say hello to I can't. Thanks for watching on LinkedIn. I can't read that name unless Andrew can. If you can see it.
Well, I all I can really say is we're glad to have you from Nairobi.
Right, thanks for watching.
I
appreciate that.
For sure.
So, were you qualified? Did you do your qualifications in this family business?
So initially I started as a apprentice, so I didn't know anything. I was 18 years old, doing it as a summer job while I went to school for fisheries and wildlife in the winters, and started as an apprentice for a few seasons, and then got enough, under my belt to take the state licensing exam here to become a certified technician, and then over time upgraded to be a certified applicator. We have a sort of a multi-tiered system in New York State with apprentice, certified technician, and then, licensed technician, then certified applicator.
So it's not like a qualification. Is it a qualification? So is this a license? Say, I hear a lot about. So say you did something, you made a big mess up, and you did something. Could you lose your license and that you're over? They take it off you if you did something bad by accident?
Yeah. So first of all, no, I've never messed up anything before.
I know you have.
No, you don't have to. No, I've screwed up everything. But yes, not bad enough to lose your license. But yeah, you're held to a little bit higher standard. So something that, say, like a homeowner buys product off the shelf and does something with it, and there really are going to be no real repercussions. There's repercussions for a licensed individual because you should know better. So you could lose your license. You could have jail time and fines, and all the coercive power of the justice system.
It isn't like that here. You'd have to kill somebody.
Well, we found on killing people here too, but yeah.
Well, yeah, you'd have to. I think to get to that level, you'd have to kill. You'd have to. Yeah. What you did would have had to have killed somebody. Say you were doing a gassing job or something, and there was a case where somebody, I don't know, they weren't pest controllers. They got hold of aluminium phosphate, is it?
Yeah.
And it seeped through and it killed this young girl on her birthday through a block of flats. And they can't work out how they got it into the country.
Oh. But, was that the one where a flat above another one was being treated or something like that?
Yeah. I heard it on the Beauties and Beasties as well.
Yeah.
I did. That's where I heard it.
No, I say, here's the thing. So, like, saying that there is like a standard, and if you screw something up, you can have repercussions.
Yeah,
that's great, but we don't really. There's not like a lot of enforcement of, are you doing a good job? Like, nobody's going around and checking on that. Our enforcement agencies are really just looking for compliance of, like, did you buy the right stuff? Are you following the label? Are you storing it properly? Are you using it the way it's supposed to be used and disposing of it properly? But as far as, like, are you doing a quality job with that? That's kind of up to you to kind of figure out. Nobody's coming behind you and saying, you did this wrong.
It's just a very different way it is in America. I like to ask these questions because it's so different to what we're used to.
Sure.
Here it's qualification based, as you probably know.
Yep.
But you obviously have seen probably all the UK's future framework system going through and being sorted out. Like, they want a framework, so when you come out of school or you're in college or whatever you want to do, that you know the actual framework to work to. rather than currently, it's just you can either have, depending who you're working for, obviously, the basics in rodents and insects, which are just basically a day course, and you can actually buy bait with that. That's fine. But as of next year, you've got to have CPD.
Mm-hmm.
You have as well.
Yep.
But for the first 5 years, you don't need it if you just want to use your basics, and then you can go on to what I've got, the RSPH level 2 in award in pest management, and that's pretty much the majority of people stick to.
Yeah.
And then you've got level 3, and they're working on the whole framework. They are, but it's to help younger people try and get into pest control as well, because schools don't recommend that as a profession here. Do they recommend it in where you are? Is that a thing?
Yeah, not really. We're in the shadows a little more in our industry specifically, but there is definitely a movement in the United States towards trades, like towards trades in general. One of the things that we've been trying to do is get more involved with, like, we're involved with like the Manufacturers Association here in New York to get some of our apprenticeships in with, sort of like, it's well known for manufacturing to have apprenticeships and people work up through to become a carpenter or whatever they're going to be. But get our name as not us as a company necessarily, but our industry involved with that. Part of the trouble we end up with a little bit is that we don't need that many people. So you're not looking for, hey, we need to hire 1,000 people to outfit a factory with manufacturers workers.
That's true.
Our region here, you might need 100. There's just not that many jobs, that we can really absorb as an industry. Now, if regulations change and the risk that pests present are taken more seriously as we move forward, all of a sudden there's going to be more money for this sort of service, and then there's going to be able to be more pay, and we're going to need more people to do a higher level of work. And this all is going to be coming, but we're talking 10 or 15 years down the road. Because I think there's might be off topic a little bit for you, but
you're fine.
I think there's two things that are going to happen sort of in conjunction with each other. One is, as we reduce the number of materials we have available, we're going to increase the level of skill that a technician needs to be able to still to achieve the same results.
Yeah.
With that level of skill, now you're going to be able to command a higher pay for the company, and then a higher pay for the technician. Because now, instead of being hey, we can get you trained up in a week, it's going to take a lot more to get people to where they need to be, because you're going to lose the cheap, effective materials that we've sort of relied on as an industry. And I say relied on, it's like a double-edged sword. We relied on it, but it's also been hurting us, and we don't even realize it. Having cheap, effective pesticides allows us to do a worse job and still get good results. So it's a crutch.
I wouldn't say the materials we buy are cheap, would you?
Our materials are about 3.5% of our annual revenue as a company. So as far as like an expense goes, it's hardly anything, right?
Well, I suppose when you put it that way, but if you put it to compared to I suppose people can buy it off the shelf. Now in America, can they buy what you could, as in the rodenticides? Can they buy that off the shelf, the same dose as you?
Yes and no. So the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, changed. There was a risk mitigation decision a few years back, and it changed how we handle rodenticides in the United States. And it was meant to mitigate risk to non-target organisms and having homeowners, chucking bait everywhere, that kind of thing. Yeah. One of the things that they changed was you can't get the like second generation anticoagulants in small single-use sort of packaging. You can still buy it, though, as a homeowner if you go to the tractor supply store, the farm supply store, and you could buy, 18-pound pails of it, but you can't buy 1 ounce of it, like on its own.
I'll tell you what, that makes complete sense. That does. Alex Wade's watching. Hello, Alex.
Uh-oh. Now I got to watch what I say. Uh-oh.
But yeah, that makes total sense. You can't buy little bags of rodenticide, but you can buy buckets and buckets of it if you want to from the farm shop.
Sure. Well, and they tried to have it so that second generation anticoagulants were still available for the agricultural market. You know, you have the mom and pop farms, even though a lot of our agriculture is going to like industrial corporate farming now. But you have mom and pop farms, and they wanted to have them still be able to gain access to rodenticides so they can, chuck them haphazardly everywhere they want. Yes.
Well,
exactly.
It's like here, there's a change of the guard when it comes to farm shops, etc. So as of next year, Alex is watching me. I better get this right. So it's all changing next year. There used to be something called if you were a member of a big farming organisation, say Red Tractor, if you were a member and you could prove you're a member, you could walk in and buy rodenticide without a qualification in the farm shops. As of next year, then people have to go and do a day course and then every 5 years retake it, or they have to join a CPD scheme and do free crew points to farmers. But we have to do now, as pest controllers, no pressure. Yeah, there we go. No pressure, guys. Yeah, you're right there.
Yeah.
And then us pest controllers have to do free crew points per year, which is courses that crew provide for that, 3 points, and then the rest of the points have to be made up. I'm in the NPTA, National Pest Technicians Association. You have to do all your points, so 20, but it's got to include 3 crew points.
Sure.
I believe, or it's 20 plus 3. One of the two.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. So to circle back though on the materials though.
Yeah.
I still think that availability for us as an industry of those cheap, effective materials, and cheap relatively, those cheap, effective materials are helping us provide a level of service where we're controlling things, but definitely hurting us because it's stunting our industry from maturing, because we're not having to invest more into high-level training for really great technicians in general. I mean, there are some. I'm not. Yeah. This is talking really general, but if you can fill up the back of a pickup truck with 100 gallons of material and spray 30 houses in a day and expect you get okay results and cash those checks, as long as that material is available that you can still do that with, people are going to do that.
Oh, yeah.
If you eliminate the availability, so as those materials start to become more restricted, you have to still achieve the ends, control whatever the problem is. And to do that, you're going to have more training. You're going to have more skill level. You're going to have more, site time and that kind of thing. And that's going to raise our pricing, and that's going to raise the pay we can pay for people. And that's going to attract people into the industry. So this is counter to a lot of opinion right now, but I'm not against like regulation on materials. The materials are just one of the tools, and they're going to change over time. And honestly, if they get more restrictive, we're going to be better off in the longer run.
Well, you're going to have to, obviously, you're supposed to use integrated pest management anyway, but I actually know a lot of people don't. But obviously, but the problem also as well, sometimes the clients don't want to pay what's needed to do it properly.
Sure.
As well, you do get them, don't you? They don't want to. They say there's a big gaping hole or that something needs proofing. They don't want to. Do it.
Okay,
but I suppose you always get that though, don't you?
You do, and so I've heard this argument a lot of times. So if somebody came to you and I don't know, you're a doctor, and they came to you and said, "Hey, I have a cold, and I need a prescription for medication, and I only want to pay you whatever $10." You actually, the prescription you need to write for them is for 2 weeks worth of antibiotics. You take twice a day. It's going to be however many pills. They say, I only have money for 2 pills. So just give me the 2 pills. If the doctor did that, he'd be committing malpractice. So if somebody comes to us and says, hey, I want to do this thing, and you know that it's not standard, it's way out of bounds for what we should be doing, it's sort of malpractice for you to say, okay, you'll only pay me this, I'll go ahead and do it anyway. I'll do my best. I'll give it my level best and give it a try. So
that's a good analogy. That is, yeah.
It's almost a non-argument to me, because the argument is really, if we reframe that argument, they only want to pay this much, is okay. How little am I willing to do? Like where's my floor of how much can I cut down what I'm really supposed to, what are best practices? How close can I shave those down until it's not doing the right thing?
That's true, because it's like when we get contracts, we get a lot of people go, well, can't you cut down this company that, right? And I go, our price is our price. We're not going to drop it, because a lot of people will, won't they? They'll drop it to the floor just to get it. Well.
So here's something I do, because I'll get that same question, right? As I'm coaching my salespeople out there, talking to commercial accounts and stuff, they'll run into somebody and said, hey, I got this price from whoever. And most of the time that price is not based on anything. It's just pretty much what the salesperson thinks they can get that account for. So we'll see wild fluctuations between accounts that are way overpriced or way underpriced. And it's hard to predict what you're actually going to pay. But if someone comes and we do our best presentation, here's what we think you need.
Yeah.
If they want to get a better price, usually what I'll do is I'll turn it back to them and say, okay, what would you like to cut out? What part of this do you want me to skimp on? Okay. Because it's up to them. If they want to assume risk for something, and sometimes this actually, it's not a facetious argument. It's, hey, if I'm presenting the world's best IPM program for your facility, and it includes, bees and wasps and roaches and bed bugs and mice and rats. And then we say, okay, well, that's too much money. I want it to be less. Okay. What do you want to cut? And then you find out, well, I'm not really worried about bees and wasps. I'm not really okay. Do you want to do just rodent control only? Because we can cut the price down to just that.
Yeah.
Is there parts of your campus, let's say you have multiple buildings, are you not really worried about that shed out there in the back? It won't be part of the program. We'll cut that out. We're only going to cover this. Do you want to have a guarantee coverage? We could cut out a guarantee and just do your basic maintenance, and any other call outs are going to be an added price. But and these are just like random examples I'm thinking of at the moment.
It's really good, because I'm not that good at sales. So
yeah.
I'm learning. I am.
But it turns it around on them. And now the decision of where you cut, and you frame it that way, hey, you're asking me to cut corners. Okay, what corners would you like me to cut? And at some point, there's going to be a point where you go, well, that's too many corners. I can't cut all those corners. Now you don't have anything. And a lot of times what people will do is they'll start to think differently about their program. Sometimes they just don't care, and they're cheap, and they'll say, forget you. But you don't want those clients anyway. Let somebody else deal with that headache. But a lot of times it'll reframe how they're looking at their own program and go, geez, I really do need this, and I'm worried about these things. And then you're having a conversation about risk and liability versus how many boxes are you going to put in here, and how often are you going to check them, because that has no real tangible emotional weight to anybody other than us.
Okay. Do you sometimes offer, say, you do a facility and then they don't want, say, the cockroaches, and you say that's okay, but if you ever need the cockroaches, you just charge them per job? Do you do that as well?
Yeah, there's a bunch of different ways that this could be done, and it's all going to be predicated on what their requirements might be. So they might have regulatory requirements of their own. If they're organic certified food processing, they don't have a lot of choice in what they have to do certain things. If they're any of the QSFI auditing schemes, AIB, SQF, all those alphabet soups of audited plants, they're going to have certain things they have to do. Now, if you're, say, I don't know, an apartment complex, you can decide to cover as much or as little as you really want. So some of them, they go, look, we want just basic rodent control, management going on. And then if we need ant control in an apartment, it's going to be extra every time we call you out for these other things. A lot of those can be still very profitable, because you work them out on the rotation and say, look, we're here the first and third Monday of every month. That's when you're on the route. We're going to be there for your regular, rodent maintenance program. to check on that and batch all your work orders that come in, and then you charge them whatever you charge them, $100, $200 per apartment to treat for roaches for, whatever the case may be. But you can get creative with that to sort of work it out, how they understand their risk and liability and how they want to handle it. And then you're it's the truest, in the truest sense, as Foster from Pest Positive would say, it's consultative selling then at that point.
Okay.
You're not trying to push something on them. You're consulting with them and offering your expertise and then a solution based on what they're looking to accomplish. So kind of we got off on a whole side thing. Sorry.
Well, I'll tell you what, I learned a lot there. I imagine a lot of people will, because it's not an area, it's not selling like for picking up new. We've picked up a few new contracts recently, but it's not something, it's not a strong point, let's just say.
Sure.
We've got quite a few. We have, but it's not a strong point, gaining more. So it's helped. It has.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. I'm sure it will help other people. It will.
Sure.
So we'll jump to, obviously you mentioned how Perimetek started. So do you want to go how that transition from big box to actually thinking about starting up your own company when it came about?
Yeah. I'll tell you. One of the things that I wasn't anticipating when the company I worked for sold was the emotional impact that had. Like, I don't know if we realize in the day-to-day how attached we are and how much our identity becomes intertwined with our work until something gets pulled away from you like that. And then all of a sudden you go, oh my goodness, it's like a gut punch. And coming out of that, my thought was, geez, I loved what I was doing. I thought this was a great industry. I wanted to do this forever. Yeah. Can I rebuild that and have the same kind of job again for myself? And then immediately I was thinking, I want to provide this for other people. So like weirdly, the first thing that I did was took my old company's employee handbook and rewrote it for our company. I had one person, there was me and slave labor in my wife and, a 1-year-old at home. And I'm here writing an employee handbook, rewriting it for our company. And my wife is like, you are nuts.
It sounds just like you. Based off your podcast, this is definitely you.
So, but I immediately was like, this is a great career for people. I want to put together an organization that can provide jobs that are going to be awesome jobs for people. So like right out of the gate, it took some things off the table for us. So we weren't going to be doing 20 stops a day, spraying houses from a truck like that. That was, to me, that's not exciting or interesting work. Like it's not something that engages the mind enough to attract people that are going to want to dedicate themselves to it. And that's the big difference. A lot of times when we have these conversations, and you had mentioned before, how do we get people into this industry? Yeah. There has to be meaning and direction and a path and a future. And the more you can put that into the job you're offering, the less turnover you're going to have, the more longevity with employees, the more they're going to enjoy their work, the more they're going to do those little extra things, go that little bit extra mile. If you're just hiring kids that are like college kids and people that just can't find jobs and saying, here's a truck, here's a ton of stuff, go spray these houses and get them all done as fast as you can, that's a soul crushing job. Like it really is. And right now it's a lot of our industry. And that's where I feel like we tend to struggle.
Yeah, no, that's fair, because obviously that's how you build your company up. Because I have heard of people actually in America spraying. I've heard these, whether they're true or not. Do people actually spray from their vans, their trucks, up to the house? Is that made up?
So I don't know if I have. I know for sure that I've seen people that have done the barcode scans from their trucks, didn't check stations or whatever. As far as spraying, I mean, I have seen people that have done weed control around buildings from the truck, hanging an arm out and spraying as they drove around a building.
Really? Okay.
But usually it's a truck mounted sprayer. You pull up and you spray down the house and move to the next one. That's very common. And when you said this is how you build up your business, I want to challenge that. This is how you build up a lot of revenue for a business. It's not how you build a big, strong business. So if you were building a house, this is a house that's sort of made of sticks, right? And it's rickety. You have people that are quitting all the time, customers that are canceling. You're putting in programs to prevent people from canceling, trying to put programs to prevent people from quitting. It's kind of a mess. If you're building your business, it's going to take longer. It's going to be slower. If you're building a strong one, you're building a house with a foundation that's strong, brick by brick, and it takes longer. And I think the biggest mistake that I'll see is people that are, and this is not to say that those fast growth, let's do as many jobs as we can in a day, are wrong. It's just a different set of values. I don't value that, but they do, and that's fine. You can do that job. Yeah. But if you're building a house of sticks, you can't complain that it doesn't look like the brick house that your neighbor built that took a lot longer. Okay,
no, so it's a good point, because some people have these ideas and visions that I'm going to build this company, but what they're actually looking to do is build a massive company to exit for a high profit.
Sure,
it doesn't always work out that way.
It doesn't. And that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly valid. There's not everyone is geared to work in this as a profession and a craft. Yeah. I say there's a lot of people that are in the industry, and then there's a lot of people that use the industry. If you're a professional and you're growing a craft, like, you have the time. You have a lifetime to perfect this. I'm never going to learn everything about this industry and about pest management. I hope to, but I know I'm not going to achieve that. I'm just going to go as far as I can and learn everything I can and pass it along and enjoy that path the whole way. Other people go, hey, I want to just make a payday. I want to make a business. It's going to provide me with a great lifestyle. I'm going to sell it eventually to one of the big companies, cash a big check, and isn't that great? The problem, though, is if you confuse which one you are, and if you're like me, it literally took me probably 10 years to kind of come to terms with this, because I think you can feel like there's pressure on your back to push you towards, how come you're not growing fast enough? How come you're not doing more? How come you didn't hire more people? How come you didn't add more routes and more customers this year? Okay. If you're not geared in that direction, don't listen to that noise, because it's pulling you in the wrong direction. So, like, when I think of you, Shaun, I think it's somebody that wants to be a craftsman, that wants to be in this for a long haul. I think you have the fortitude to do this as a profession and a career. So I would say, don't get tied up, and not that you have. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, in general. And I'm just shooting spaghetti at the wall. It may be right, or you can tell me I'm full of it, literally. I see you as being like that long path. So if year over year you grow modestly and take stepwise growth, that's totally fine. That's awesome.
Working. Because when my dad started the company, it was his side job. It literally was his part-time job on the side until he built it up enough to start doing it full-time. That's how he built it up. And over time, and then roll around 2020, and I joined. Yeah, he had enough to that point. I mean, I was scared when I first joined. I was like, I'm not sure if this is going to work out, but it did. It did. Yeah. I wasn't on social media or like I am now, but I was then. But it's growing year on year. We're doing well. We're doing a good enough, as you say, steady, slow and steady. Yeah, we're not like trying to grow loads of technicians. Just me and my dad at the minute, and maybe one day in the future we might have what we want to really do is to be like a business where you, like, Gabe. I don't mean his level. I just mean you can pass it on to your children, basically. Like my son, he's only 10, and he wants to be a pest controller.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, he came to Pest Tech last year with me. He did. He came round. I had apprentice on his badge. He did.
That's perfect.
But the school didn't know. We just said he was ill, and then there was this hero day, and he dressed up as me. He's got open pest control, Jack Felice, and I gave him the lanyard, and like she looked at it, and then she realised where he was that day. But it didn't do anything.
Yeah.
It didn't. It was
So now,
educational.
do you ever feel that? And this is actually something that I've seen a difference between my experience talking to you guys in the UK versus here. And it may be something that's very American, like the very capitalist, individualist. You've got to succeed. You've got to grow. If you're not growing, doubling every year your revenue, you're a slacker. Is that something that you guys have over there? Are you more okay with, hey, we're tradesmen and we're professionals and we're going to do this? Or do you have a lot of these fast growth types?
There is a lot of the fast growth types, obviously, but I think the majority of people that are in trades are just happy if they're growing year on year. But I hate to say it, pest control, even though it is a trade, I don't know if other people see it as a trade. You know how electricians and plumbers and gas engineers, like they wouldn't be questioned. Say you give them a price for this, well, they wouldn't question the price for this brand new boiler that costs 10 grand or 5 grand. Yeah, but you get questioned. Them kind of trades, like they just pay it. Yeah. Whereas Alex Wade just put this up on the screen. I'm guessing it's a quote from something. It is in no man's power to have whatever he wants, but he has it in his power not to wish for what he hasn't got, and cheerfully make the most of the things that do come his way. That's a good quote, that is.
I love it.
I think in general though, people just like to be slow and steady. But there is obviously companies that grow fast. But sadly in Britain, we don't have seeing in America, there's a very much I want to be big and successful. Yeah. This might be a controversial opinion, but I believe schools here, they train you how to work for someone else. They don't give you that mindset that you can go out there, build a company, work for yourself and do well. They kind of train you to work for someone. Get a safe job like, I don't know, lawyer, accountant, something like that, and work for someone. So that's kind of how I view it. A couple of other people have said that to me. That's how I view it. I might be wrong.
Yeah. Okay. So, because I've thought about that as well a lot, and I feel like a lot of our education system is a holdover from Industrial Revolution designed training to get people ready to work in a factory, to be a 9-to-5 job person, to be an employee. Yeah,
I was 16 years. I worked at a crap factory, which I hated.
Totally.
And then I went to work for my dad, and it's the kind of thing where you think, wish I got into this years ago.
But we track a lot of people in that direction. And for a long time, I like recoiled like this. I was like, oh, that our American education system is garbage. And, why are we tracking everybody that? How come we aren't learning entrepreneurship in school and these kinds of things? Now, I have kind of pulled back from that in the last number of years. And what I've seen is we've, managed more people in our business and I've had more experience, is that I think a lot of people are not emotionally capable of being an entrepreneur. I think that it's a minority of people that have the leadership capabilities, that have the emotional control and intelligence, that can be a good boss and be a good entrepreneur. I think a lot of people that we see, even very successful as far as growing revenue people in business, are still not really great leaders or entrepreneurs. They just happen to grow something big.
They done well, they did.
Yeah, it's sure.
You are right. Not everyone wants to do it, and it's quite okay to be. See, I didn't get this mindset until I went to work for my dad. You see, if it wasn't for my dad, I'd probably still be in it's a normal job, but it was very toxic. Let's say, the old school workplaces, old mentalities.
Sure.
And when you're around people like that, you get like that. But when you get out of it, it's much better. Thanks, Jason, from Ask Pest Control. He says a good pestie has to enjoy and be passionate about being in the industry.
Absolutely.
That's true, but you are right. Not everyone can do it. Not everyone wants to do it.
No, well, and probably the vast majority, if you spread everybody, on a bell curve, most people are going to be capable emotionally of handling being an employee better than being an entrepreneur. The stress that you have to take on and sort of emotional regulation that you need. Most people just aren't going to be capable of it. So it's the responsibility really of our school system to educate the most people for most how they're going to do their life.
Yeah, so I can probably see why they do that.
Yeah.
But they should have an element where they do tell people this is available.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know if they do.
Now you said something just a little bit back that I think is needs some attention. So you said they don't treat us like a electrician or a plumber or what I mean, like the other trades. Pest control isn't looked at as a trade that's on level with other trades, right?
I don't believe it is.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so there's one big difference with almost all those other trades and us, and it's oversight. It's regulatory. So we don't have regulatory. We complain about regulations, and we know we have regulations we have to live up to. But to the end user, if you hire an electrician, I don't know, I'm sure it's similar there, but if you hire an electrician here and he is doing work that isn't up to code, your building is not going to be okay. You're going to have an inspector that comes out and says, this isn't done right. Pull all this wire out and redo it, or else you can't occupy this building. It's not safe. So you're willing, an engineer or whatever, making boilers or name any trade you got out there.
Yeah.
If you have oversight that holds the practitioners of that trade to some standard, you're going to, as the end user, be willing to pay more for that tradesman. And so as long as we, as an industry, I think in general, are kind of a little happy to be like the critters we chase and kind of hide in the shadows and just kind of sneak around and not have anybody look at what we're really doing and just kind of, get by. As long as we're okay with that, we're never going to elevate our tradesman status to these other trades.
It is true. That's probably why you are right. That's probably why it's not seen as on the same level. But in America, I believe that, correct me if I'm wrong, is like with people's residential homes, pest control is seen as a great thing, isn't it? Or am I wrong? I've got this perception that it's with people, it's valued more. It's valued more in people's homes in certain areas of America. So
it's hard to speak on for everybody. There's 300 million people across a wide variety of environments and living situations. So for us, if we had to say, like, for example, the southeast of the United States, Florida and Georgia and those, southern warm climates there, in a lot of those places, pest control is like pretty much mandatory. Like everyone is going to want to have a pest control program at their house. I mean, some of those, you get into Florida, you're tropical. I mean, it's a jungle. Like you have got to do pest control or you're going to have all kinds of problems. Okay. As you move into the Northeast, we're kind of middle of the road. We don't have quite as much pressure. Some areas you'll have populations of people that don't really want to see pest control at all. They have sort of a moral opposition to pesticides in general. So I would say possibly from what I've seen, we may be a little more pest control friendly on the residential side. There's a lot more, quarterly recurring maintenance programs that happen at people's homes here in the United States.
We've got a few,
but
it's rare. Like if you go and knock on people's door on the road, in certain areas you might get a thump because they'll think, "Oh, you're saying I'm dirty. My house is dirty."
Right.
There's a different. If you knock doors in Britain, you can knock businesses. That's completely different.
Yep.
But you to go around door knocking in pest control, you'd find yourself getting into a lot of problems. You would.
Yep.
You would.
Yep.
So
sure.
I totally see what you're saying. Thanks for that comparison. I do. But yeah, it's been fun so far. It has.
I'm trying to get you in trouble as much as I can. That's the goal today.
You haven't yet. You haven't. Thanks, SBB Environmental Services off LinkedIn. You're right, Shaun. We seem to be in an industry that customers ask for bait here and then we do, and they would tell an electrician what wire to use or a plumber, and that is actually true. Sometimes they actually try to tell you how to do your jobs, but some people tell the plumbers what to do, and I know my job. You don't need to tell me.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but yeah. So with Perimetek, I get the impression that your business is more focused on commercial, but I went on your website. It does say you do domestic, which I didn't think you did.
Yeah, so that website is about 5 years past a redesign need. So we've been whittling all that off of there, and we have a full website redesign happening this fall. We're I think we're right now 86% commercial. So we do some residential. A lot of it is residential homes of commercial clients and that sort of thing, and then some holdover residential work that we've held on to. But yeah, we are almost all commercial and like 94% recurring. So it's all maintenance programs as opposed to one-time call-in work.
Oh, that's good. So what was your decision to move just straight into, make that decision that you really just want to do commercial work? Is that where your company prides itself? Is that where you enjoy it the most?
Yeah, so it was something that, a long time ago, I noticed that I was drawn towards the commercial work in general. And for a long time, I didn't know why until, I've been doing it 15 or 20 years. And I started to go, oh, I know why. It's because homeowners don't give a whit about IPM for the most part. They don't care about like actually figuring out problems and doing the stuff that's really engaging for me. And the commercial side does, because the risk profile is greater in those commercial settings. If you have a plant that shuts down, a food processing plant that shuts down, you could be talking millions of dollars in losses. And as that risk mounts, their willingness to pay for somebody to, hey, do this really cool, data collection project and, come up with designs of, changing your SOPs and things like that to mitigate those risks. That stuff's fun. That's where they're going to pay for that. I also noticed just by happenstance, I guess, we sort of hired people that were geared similarly. We were hiring people that were more engaged in that sort of process. And so the work where it would be residential and it would end up being fairly routine started to be less appealing. So at one point we actually sort of put a decision matrix together to say, what does the customer think of this? What does the technician think of this? And is this good for the company and the brand? And does it move us forward? And we would rate every single job on those three metrics. And anything where we said, hey, the customer isn't like thrilled. We're not doing like crazy differentiated services. So they're just like, they could get this from somebody else. The technician is not enthusiastic about it. And the company's doesn't really matter at that point. If those other two aren't into it, we weren't going to do it. So we started slowly figuring out which were the least, IPM friendly and started eliminating those service lines each year. So we'd pick, a couple of them and say, okay, we're not doing mole trapping anymore. We're not doing vole control. We're not doing, monthly spider services. These are, as we went along, we just divested of each one of those service lines till we're down to almost no residential at this point. And I don't want to say it's just on the residential side, because we've done the same thing on the commercial side. There's certain commercial accounts, notoriously like restaurants. A lot of times they aren't really interested in doing a good high level service. They kind of want a receipt that they can show the health department that they have pest control a lot of times, and they don't want to pay anything. So I was just like, it's not a sandbox that I want to play in. Let's just get out of this. And I was crazy. Everybody I talked to was like, this is nuts. You're giving away, $100,000 at a clip of revenue of work. But to me, the stability moving forward and the vision we were trying to build were more important than just that revenue. So,
that's good to hear, because obviously you've got a vision and you've got something where you obviously built your company up to have enough work to be able to make it profitable, just to focus on commercial. Because had you not had enough commercial, I would agree and said, yes, you are crazy.
Yeah, that's why it took a while, right? You have to build up that commercial portfolio, alongside the residential, because at some point there's a tipping point where larger commercial accounts want to see that you are stable enough and have redundancy in your service, so that like if it was just me, you do a certain amount of commercial work and you'll get a certain amount of commercial contracts. That's cool.
Yeah.
But if you're going for really premium, top-notch commercial work, large stuff, they see you, even though your service would be the best, if you get hit by a bus, they're left with nothing. So they have to mitigate those risks with redundancy. So you need to have a couple technicians. You need to have, show some stability and track record, so that they don't feel like their rear end is hanging out in the breeze if something happened.
Okay.
Yep. And that's how you can wrestle those away from the big giant, service providers out there. Is that stability. So once you get to that tipping point, that's where we got to this tipping point of scale where we're like, okay, we're really pretty solid and formidable. We can start going after those really high dollar accounts, and then divest of the residential at that same time. And so I don't know if you ever watched like Indiana Jones, the beginning of Indiana Jones, the not Temple of Doom, Raiders of the Lost Ark. And he's in this.
For a long time now.
Okay, he's in a tunnel, right? And he's got this. There's like this gold idol on this booby trap, and it's all this beautiful, gold head. He's somewhere in South America, and he has a bag of sand, and he feels the weight of the bag of sand, and he takes the bag of sand and switches it with the idol as he takes it off, and it's supposed to be the exact same weight. So I've said a bunch of times, this is what we were trying to do. We're trying to take that residential and get rid of it at the exact same time we put the commercial in its place. And so we don't, take a big step back or put ourselves in a dangerous spot.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to do that. You're a very calculated and analytical guy. I know this from your posts, from your podcast, most definitely, because you go into it on your podcast about what you do your spreadsheets and all your breakdowns, and you quite enjoy that kind.
I do.
Is that how you? Is that obviously when you were growing to more commercial? I imagine that a lot of your growth charts and what you make helped you make them decisions. I imagine.
Oh, absolutely.
Quite good at that. You are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to give a shout out to my wife Holly, who is the co-founder, owner, I don't know, whatever you call it, because it is impossible to make some of these decisions and for me and still sleep at night without having somebody like her on the back end doing the books and keeping the books 100% up to date. Like literally we can run a P&L at almost any day, anytime, and it'll be 100% up to date. She'll have those. Wow. As a hobby, she reconciles our accounts. Like it'll be like every week she'll have every account reconciled, like all the savings accounts and bank accounts, checking, and the AR, the whole thing. And to be able to have that clarity on what your numbers actually are all the time, it provides you with security, with making decisions that otherwise could be risky. You don't know. Right, you're kind of taking a step, and you don't know how far down that cliff might fall. Yeah. And having that clarity, we were able to go, okay, there's a very good expectation. We're going to make this much. Here's how our expense framework looks. Here's the number of employees and the payroll we need to have. So everything we did, while it sounds like, wow, you just like got rid of, I don't know what it was, $250,000 worth of residential work. That's insane. Well, yeah, but we totally mapped out like every dollar to make sure we were good. Oh no. Yeah, she'd be the boss. Yeah. No, sometimes she lets me be the boss in my own mind and on podcasts. That's where I'm the most boss.
I'll tell you what, I've got to give her it. The week she took over the podcast, it was good. Podcast that was.
She's great. It's funny because Holly will give me a lot of crap when I get home, and she'll have a lot of opinions, and I'll say, hey, why don't you come on and say some of these things? No, I don't want to come on. But then I'm like, but then you're going to talk to me all night about, well, you should have said this. You should have said that.
Holly, you need to go on the podcast.
There you go.
Go on. There you do it. I'll clip this. You need to go on Coast to Coast more. You do. You've got some good opinions.
She does.
So I've left Alex long enough. I was going to ask this question anyway, but he says, Shaun, ask Andy about his labs.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so this is a funny thing. So I have pictures that go back to like the first day that we started this. This was one of the coolest things that I always liked about the old company I worked for is we had like this little insect lab and,
Yeah.
you had the Cornell drawers with specimens in it and that kind of thing. And I've always been science driven. So like right from day one, I knew that I wanted to have that be part of what we did.
Okay.
It's grown and evolved over the years, and I have pictures every couple of years of how we've added and grown capabilities and whatnot.
Nice.
And so
Okay.
we just finished an expansion. We added on to our office here. So we have a much bigger lab space. So Alex, next time you're in the U.S., I'll have to show you our new lab space because it's pretty awesome. So
I'd be interested by that, will.
there you go. So we want to add capabilities, and one of the things we really wanted to do was to. I think that there's a hole between the label says what to do, and academic research has told us these things about whatever the topic may be.
Yeah.
But then there's this big gap right there. What do we do? And how does it work? And what really works and what is just hearsay? What's stuff that was handed down as industry knowledge that never was tested? So a lot of these things are the things we want to work on. We want to figure out like, okay, how many, what's the, I'm just thinking, what's the, like efficacy ratio of a tin cat? Like how many mice should I expect to catch on that? Or how many would I need to use? What's the dosage rate for snap traps?
Okay.
Like how many do you need? These are just things rolling around in my head just right now. This isn't stuff we're actually working on this minute, but, and I thought that if we wait for a university to fund research to do this stuff, it'll never happen.
You might be retired or your grandchildren might be about.
It will never happen. Yes. So we wanted to independently verify efficacy of things and service protocols and have a way to sort of ferret out what works and what doesn't and what should we be doing. And it's been an awesome thing. We have some newer staff members that are taking it in other directions too. So there's a bunch of stuff want to.
Sorry, do you have staff actually for the lab?
So we have a couple staff members that they're part-time for the lab and in the field. So part of their job, we don't have enough lab work to be like, they'd be sitting there doing nothing half the day or more. But they'll be like, 2 hours in the morning as they come in, they're working in the lab on whatever their project is. And then they're out in the field doing field work. And I'll tell you what, this also puts a lot of meaning. It imbues what they're doing every day with a lot of meaning, and it makes them that much more interested. So if you're researching something, like one of the things we've been working on is a roach survival study. And I'm ashamed to say we're still not done with it. We're probably a year and a half into studying it. We wanted to know how long does a roach on average, based on age and gender, survive attached to an insect monitor. And it seems like a simple question to answer, but we've run into roadblocks and whatever. But the person running that project now going out into the field that day, if they find a roach on an insect monitor, it has a whole different meaning than, oh, there's a roach on an insect monitor. I guess I'll squash it and throw it in the garbage. They look at it, they go, okay, well, how long is this? I'm not sure. The ones in the lab have lived this long, and whatever. So you're doing something important. And all this to me was about industry advancement, not about Perimetek advancement. Like my whole thought is that, like my pie in the sky dream is that we're going to end up with actual research papers, peer reviewed, research that can be published that will help everybody.
That's pretty nice.
That's the goal. So
you've just had massive praise from Alex. Here it comes.
Oh no.
Was super impressed with the labs, having the in-house capacity to verify what use patterns and strategies which conform to your own ways of working is a powerful tool, which not only gives the technician confidence in the program, but also gives the technicians the ability to talk with the knowledge on these subjects with the client. That is very true.
Yeah.
Very easy.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So it's really good stuff you're doing. So do you, So you don't actually, you're not into this product doing independent trials for any companies on products. No, it's just
yeah. So we have done some. We've done some independent stuff for manufacturers. We haven't done anything that was public that we were releasing results of. One of the things, and this goes with the podcast and with what we do in the lab, is I want as much as possible to privately fund these activities so that we don't have sponsors. So we don't have, whatever, someone saying, hey, here's this thing and here's, a big bunch of money and tell us how great this thing is. Like that. I feel like that you have conflict of interest right off the jump. And so we kind of wanted to avoid that. Yep.
No, you will want to avoid. I just think it's super impressive. So some of your projects you've done because obviously I do know you end up in pest control magazines as well, don't you? And on
a little bit.
Has any of your lab studies ended up in magazines or any publications? I don't mean like papers. I just mean like in a magazine. Has any of them ended up in?
Yeah, I think we had one 2 years ago on carpenter ant activity and its tie-in with rainfall, with average rainfall. That we did over a 3-year period on ant activity levels within structures and average rainfall each season. So we found a positive correlation between higher average rainfall and more carpenter ant activity inside a structure, and that got not published legitimately, but like was in one of the trade magazines, and that was pretty cool. We haven't had other ones that we felt good enough yet to put out there into the world. We have a lot of things we've worked on, but we have a high standard that we're trying to uphold. And one of the things, it's funny, one of the things we've learned is to have an unbelievable amount of respect for our research entomologists. Man, they are doing a lot of stuff that seems easy when we look at it. It's like, oh yeah, there's nothing to that. And then you get into it and you're like, this is difficult. This takes a lot. We've ruined several studies, with contaminating, our roach colony with an IGR and doing like just stupid stuff. And I'm sure it's stuff that like you're a grad student, in biology, and you'd be like, oh yeah, no, you should do this, that, and the other. But we're pest control people, really, right? We don't have that background. I would love to, in the next 5 to 10 years, have someone that we can bring on that's sort of a full-time staff member with some research background that could be sort of staff entomologist or run, these research projects. But again, we'll see if we get there, but we all do what we can.
Well, watch out. Adam Holt might be watching this.
If I can get him to move from Hawaii, I don't think I wouldn't leave Hawaii.
I don't think he would.
No, to upstate New York? No way.
Yeah, that's true. That is. But no, I think it's really, really good what you're doing. You've got your own lab for it's at least you know now what these actually the process they go through,
sure,
and how difficult they are. Because that's what it sounds like. But it sounds very good because it would make your technicians feel more dedicated to the specific project you're doing if they're in the field doing it. They're researching as well. It's a really good process. That is. Yeah. It's
well, and all this ties into creating that culture for people. Yeah. And I something I've realized, and I think it goes undiscussed too much, is that if you aren't super passionate about a topic as the head of the company, if you're the owner, and you don't live and breathe and love that topic, the people underneath you are only going to like it less than you. Like if they like it more than you, they're going to go out on their own or they're going to do their own thing. Right. So I've started to call it like you need to have like cultural headroom for people. You need to have a high ceiling that they're striving towards. And a lot of people don't. They want to be like, oh, I want to be hands off. I want to be out of the field and out of the business, and the day to day just does its own thing. Sometimes if you don't have a personality in that business that's providing this like beacon, this sort of headroom of like, you can do this too, it can be a mistake. If I was, taking every day off and going fishing and hanging out and doing whatever and not really caring that much, no one in my company is going to care. They're just going to do their job as well as they want to and then go home and probably quit eventually, right? So I think that's one area where like that dedication from the top has really got to be solid. Yeah.
It's good advice, because if anyone listens to Coast to Coast, you'll learn a lot on that podcast about how to make policies, how to come up with company vision, and a lot more. It's quite a valuable podcast. It is.
So have you itemized out? I was thinking about this because I knew we were going to talk about podcasts a little bit and stuff. Have you grouped up the big pest control podcasts in the industry? Because I have sorted them out and put them in categories.
Oh, I knew you would. Are you going to do a league or something? I'll start doing them every night. I'll be like dropping podcasts of me just talking.
Oh my God!
A point per podcast.
So are you referencing the BCE bracket? Yes. Oh my God, that thing got out of hand. Oh my God. Oh, so for anyone who doesn't know, we do in the United States, we have a tournament in the spring, NCAA basketball tournament for all the colleges, and they do a bracket, tournament style bracket, and people pick the teams they think are going to win and put this bracket together, and they put money on it in these pools, betting pools in their company or whatever. So we did the same thing for board certified entomologists, and we took 16. We had 16 board certified entomologists nominated, and then we pitted them, a bracket style tournament against each other, and it got crazy. We've done it 2 years in a row now, and it's getting bigger every time and more unwieldy. But anyway, so I didn't rank, but I grouped up. I was thinking about the pest control podcasts out there.
Okay.
And I started to actually kind of think and look at these in groupings, and I'm going to name a bunch of them. If you don't, is that okay? If we can,
you can name them.
They're all ones that I listen to basically every pest control podcast that exists. If it's out there, I'm trying to listen to it.
Okay.
So
you can do it. Yeah.
Okay. So when I look at these, I see the guys from Pest Posse. I don't know if you've listened to the PMP Industry Insiders. That's Dan Gordon and Donnie Shelton.
No, is it worth listening to?
Yep.
I'll check that out then.
And then Beauties and Beasties with Alex and Shaun, and then I think yourself, Shaun, Pest Perspectives, in one group. I grouped all four of those up in one group. Yeah. And for these ones, I see these as being tactical and technology. They tend to be, you guys tend to be towards talking about things that are in the industry, that are things affecting us, that are tactics, that are new technologies, that are materials, that are, how to run a pest control company, that kind of thing. Okay. As one group. The other group is the guys from Bug Bucks, Jake Klaus and Eric Bassett.
Listen to that, yeah.
Yeah, Pest Control Millionaire, Jonas Olson. And the Boardroom Buzz, Paul Gianamore and Patrick Baldwin, even though the two of them aren't really on that anymore. But I look at these ones that they're looking at discussing revenue and profit growth. Largely, those shows are geared towards sales and profit and growing your company and efficiency and making money.
Yeah.
Like that's I mean, with a name like Pest Control Millionaires.
Oh,
you're Bug Bucks, right?
You don't really learn anything about pest control on them. It's about revenue and things like that.
And again, this isn't, I listed all these. This isn't saying it's bad. It's just saying their core you can see by their product. You see like they're about that. And then I couldn't put Gabe and I. When I start thinking about our little podcast, I don't feel like I'm drawn to have a technical conversation over and over again about a product. I'm not drawn to do, hey, how do I get the most profitability out of our thing? How do I convert my leads the best? For the most part, and this is why Gabe and I, when we first started talking about starting this, felt like there was this hole to discuss. And it's something that it's funny because I've heard I think I might have heard Alex and Shaun talk this way, and I think Donnie and Dan from PMP Industry Insiders. When you start talking about, like we've talked about here tonight a bunch, the emotional weight of something, the how you felt about doing something, how your staff feels about something, your culture, all these quote unquote soft skill things.
Yeah.
People tend to recoil from them. We tend to pull back and go, well, that's that's kind of woo woo out there. That's kind of stuff that's not really important and impactful, and we shouldn't really talk about. Let's talk about hard facts and dollars. And those areas, I think, are some of the most important. Not the dollars, but the culture and the emotional intelligence and having the right mindset and frame of mind to run your business and not have it run you over. That's what Gabe and I usually want to talk about the most, like when we're discussing things. And I feel like we end up being this third rail, and that was the whole reason we started that, is to have, there's a third category I forgot, and I don't want to forget them. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay, so I just jumped to talking about ourselves. Sorry about that. No, there's the Tales from the Crawl Space guys.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The License to Kill. With Marcus Scruggs. So they don't have a podcast per se. They kind of do, but it's a Discord server. I don't know if you've been on there with them. And Pestrogen, Jenny, and Candace. Those are geared towards the technician experience. I think that those podcasts and those networking groups, I guess you could say, are really geared towards camaraderie, sharing stories, sharing what works out in the field, the technician, the employee experience. It's not a conversation about owning a business and advancing the business or anything like that. And this isn't, I'm not saying that it's less than in describing it this way. I'm saying it's important. It's like technicians need a place to be and talk and listen and hear other technicians say, "Oh my God, I found this gross thing and it was horrible." And when you lift up a mattress at a hotel room and you find completely unmentionable, horrible things, sometimes you need to talk about that, right? Yeah. And that's the place you go, to the Tales from the Crawl Space and the Pestrogen and License to Kill. But that's where I see the landscape sort of break out, where you have a number of these shows that are sort of geared toward technician experience, a number that are geared towards business and profitability and growth at all costs, and a number that are technical and tactical in your business.
In your groupings, you've got that perfect.
Yeah.
There was a podcast, though, that they did on Pestrogen, and that was very educational. It was about the limes and tick. That was quite eye-opening, that was.
Yeah, for sure.
I learned something on that one.
Yeah,
I did for that.
Yep. So that was my breakdown on podcasts. I've been thinking this way for a while. Like, geez, everybody sort of falls down in one of these categories, or settles out.
You are. This is analytics, man. Definitely. It's a good grouping. It is. It's very good. That is.
Are you happy with your placement? Should I move you to a different category, or are you good?
I'm happy. I am. It's perfect. It is. We're going to do a league points and
Oh my God.
Social posts. You lot won't be able to keep up with me. I do that many.
No,
keep cranking them out.
I would never keep up with you, man.
No. Adam Holt's hard to keep up with, though. To be fair.
Yeah, he's been kicking it out. Yeah, for sure. I'm usually I'm like a 2 or 3 a week. I try to make something, that's going to be meaningful, have a message and a voice, to say something. And other than that, I kind of stay off there.
That's fair enough. Shaun Mooney caught me out today. He said, "Was one of your posts written by AI?" And I put a laughing face, maybe. I've been playing with AI.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get it to sound like me. I am. That obviously didn't. Not all my posts are written by AI, but I do use it to clean up my punctuations. I'm not very good at that bit and spelling a lot of it.
Yeah.
So I ask it to try and make it look a little bit better.
Okay, but so you said sound like you. I'm going to take a big risk here. Hopefully I don't offend you. I mean, you had the Tales from Crawl Space guys on. I can't offend you.
Yeah,
so when you say sounds like me, this is the first time we've talked in person. We've chatted, on Messenger or whatever. First time we've talked. I can't hear your accent and not hear Dick Van Dyke from Mary Poppins.
I need to look that up. I do.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, I guess that's an old movie, but yes, there's a chimney sweep in Mary Poppins, played by Dick Van Dyke in the 60s.
I can see it, but I can't hear it. I need to go and have a look after this show.
Okay. Yeah.
I won't be offended.
Okay.
I've been called all sorts because I've got such a bold head. People have called. I can't remember what people have called me, but yeah, no, that's fair.
Okay.
I'll go and look up the voice. But I've also got to listen to a recording of myself of a clip just to remember what I sound like to other people. Yeah. Because I hate it. I do.
Oh, you sound fine. You sound fine. Don't worry about it. No, you were saying you don't listen back when you publish a podcast or something.
Don't listen to my podcast. No, I listen back to the clip.
Wow.
Make the clips, them bits, and skip. Yeah, I don't like it. You must be a podcast that likes your sound of your own voice. Then
I mean, I don't know if I do. I think that I largely want to hear what the heck did I say, and did I communicate in a way that got my message across the way I was intending to. So a lot of times I'll review I'm the one that ends up editing the podcast, so I listen through it that way. And then how do you not know who Dick Van Dyke?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, Alex, we're not all in our 60s, so I mean, that movie came out in like 62. Right? Yeah,
I'm older. I'll be honest. I'm older than Alex.
I think I'm the oldest one.
I'm 40, so I would say that Alex would have been in my year at school if we were at the same school.
Oh my God.
But
so I edit it. I'll listen to it that way, and then we'll publish it. I'll listen to it again on YouTube. I'll listen to it once it gets published on Apple. I'll listen to it in the truck. I'll go back and re-listen to old ones from 2 years ago. I'm always trying to refine what I'm trying to communicate, because I think that I know that there's a big loss in the message from your mouth to someone else's ears. Like they're hearing it differently. So I'm always trying to listen back to refine how I'm delivering that message. Is there a better analogy? Can I reframe this in a way that more people will understand what I'm trying to say? Because I think a lot of times I'm usually trying to present an idea that might be foreign sometimes or challenging, and a lot of times you have to say something like that 2 or 3 times in 2 or 3 different ways for other people to start to get it. And that's not because they're dense. It's any of us. I have to hear something 2 or 3 times before I start to internalize it, and then it becomes my own thought versus just something I'm told. Yeah.
You've got a good idea there. I might have to try and get used to it, to listen back to what I've said. Yeah. So yeah, that could be a good idea to refine it. It could be. Here's
something else. Idea. Here's something else to think about. I came up. I played music in high school and college and stuff. And if you were a musician, if you put earplugs in and you play your guitar, you are going to sound bad.
That's true.
If you never listened to what you were generating. And I do actually, I'm kind of happy now with the microphone and mic pre and compressor that I have for this. So I kind of think.
How come you haven't got a pop filter on your microphone?
This RE20 has an internal pop filter here. You can get one.
I've got what's it called? I've got a blue. I've got a blue Yeti.
There you go. There you go. Yep. So yeah,
it's popping up slightly there in the screen. There you go.
So now on the podcast and having a competition, we should do like a quiz show challenge of different podcast hosts going against each other. That would be amazing.
I would get destroyed. I can tell you now, I'd lose. I would lose. I'm telling you.
Well, and it's funny because if you look at a lot of these, it's a lot of duos. There's a lot of 2 people: Foster and Cully, Dan Gordon and Donnie Sheldon, Alex and Shaun, Eric Bassett and Jake Klaus. I mean, like, there's a lot of duos, so we could have a challenge. If any other podcast hosts want to challenge Gabe and I, we will fail. You will win and look good.
You've got Alex. Alex could do it himself for the Beauties and Beasties.
Yeah. I want to see him at like a trivia night at a pub or something. He could be my partner at a trivia night.
Their quiz was really good. The 100 episodes one.
Oh,
I
yeah,
won a
for sure.
consolation prize.
There you go.
Did you see my picture today?
I did. That was awesome.
I didn't know that was coming at all. I didn't. But yeah, it's bring it on, Alex says. Bring it on.
No, I already concede. I know we're going to lose. We'll have fun, but we will lose.
But with the Coast to Coast podcast,
yeah,
they seem to be getting longer, because my complaint is a lot of time is they're quite often half an hour. And you do this thing where you're talking at the end and you fade it out at the end. Is that on purpose?
Yeah, sometimes. A lot of times there is a lot more conversation that goes on. Honestly, Gabe and I, this isn't going to be surprising to anyone. We don't really script out, our discussion.
I can believe that.
Yeah, you can believe that because it's rambling and a bunch of nonsense. Mostly.
Getting Gabe on in the first place is difficult enough.
That's right. Yeah. But we end up going wherever the conversation seems to take us, and a lot of it is we're talking through things that we're thinking about because it's stuff that's going on in our businesses, and then we've had a lot of episodes where we take a left turn, an hour in, and then we're talking about employee issues and things that can't go out into the world, right? That are we're talking about things that are going on that are best kept private in our businesses, but are still super important. And I don't want to not have that conversation. So we had Marcus Scruggs on twice because the first time we spent an hour and a half just talking about things he's dealing with and what he wants to do and like ideas and stuff that he'd rather, I wouldn't feel good about putting that out into the world on his behalf, right? People would be interested to hear it, but it might not be in his best interest. So that's our first priority.
Okay.
So yeah, and also sometimes we will edit things where we finish off what we're talking about, and then 20 minutes later we circle back around and have this other great idea, and we'll pull that from the back end, pull it into the actual session, so we get the best little tidbits of what we were talking about. So
okay, so that's why then.
Yeah.
So, no, that's fair. I've got so many questions, but I don't want to keep you all night, obviously. But are you okay for the time being?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I've noticed that have you been trialing or using digital pest control management like monitors?
Yeah, we've been working on a bunch of them. We've had a bunch of different trials that we've been doing, and honestly, they all work, right? I haven't had any that were failures, right? They pretty much every single one of them does what they say they're going to do. Okay. I think the bigger problem that I have with most of them is I don't know what I want them to do. Okay. I'm not sure that we understand how we're going to be integrating these into our systems, right? I think that it being a bolt-on where you're just like, hey, I have a box and now I have a box with stuff in it isn't the best application of this technology. If your goal is to set out equipment and then never have to go check it again, you might be okay. Yeah, right. You can do that. And the problem is we see a lot of accounts that's been the case. In the name of efficiency for a company, they'll put out a bunch of stations and tell the technician, hey, you don't have to check all these boxes. They'll check themselves. They'll tell you if something happens. Okay, great. Well, there's going to be 1,000 emails that are generated or notifications or whatever. Stuff's happening in these things. If no one is there managing it, the zombie pest control program just keeps marching forward, and the problem can persist. And we've had a lot of accounts that we've discovered this in where we take over the account and go, oh my gosh, this hasn't been being looked at. If it's just a tool to decrease your amount of payroll, your service time, it's really not a great application in my book, right? Like what I'm trying to do. I think that the programs where we're starting to see the best use case for these are ones where we're purpose building a program around what that technology is and does best and what that need or problem solving situation is going to require. So we have one that's starting this week where we're using a sort of hodgepodge of different types of digital remote monitoring and recording type of equipment because it serves the purposes that we need in that facility to get to. I almost say it's like every one of these is its own little experiment that we're running, and you're going to need different tools to run that experiment. If you want to know, hey, how many rodents might be in this place, or are there still rodents in this place, or whatever the case may be, you're going to need to pick the right tools to do that and then run that system. As far as it being like just a bolt on, I don't think it works. It's going to work that way. I think we're going to see or need to see bigger changes in how we're designing IPM programs. Like it's sort of clean slate from the ground up.
Yeah, because obviously, I'm doing a trial for the MPTA and Syngenta. I'm obviously using Syngenta's Syngenta's Secure Choice. Yeah. And so far, I'm liking it. But what I will tell people is when you've got activations, people think you'll go less, but because I'm doing a trial, I've been going a lot more. Take photographs of the box, and then the box when I've replenished it. So over the weekend, bank holiday weekend, one of the boxes got hit 19 times. It wasn't empty though. It wasn't empty yet. It wasn't.
So that, but that brings up exactly what I'm saying is so. We've found that in anywhere where we've deployed these in any kind of larger numbers, there has to be a calibration period for that system. So and what I mean is if you install a bunch of digital monitors, you're now getting a flood of data you have never gotten before. Okay, that's cool, but data without a purpose or like any analytics behind it is just noise. It's just saying this is happening. And now we've done it where we've had controlled situations where we've had stations in a place for a long time. We kind of understand the rhythms of what goes on pest-wise at this site. You put in the digital stations, and now you're hearing, quote unquote, all this data that's telling you different things. And now you got to sort of calibrate, okay, well, what does this mean? If I have 80 hits on this station, and I know that this station has been here for 3 years, this one next to it, and we've had this sort of level, okay, then 80 hits kind of correlates to this level of activity. You know what I mean? Like, so you've got to start to understand how it's working and what it's telling you in order for that data to be important. Otherwise, it doesn't mean anything to you.
I'm starting to learn that because it's like you think after 19 hits, you'd think that there wouldn't be nothing left, but there was.
Yeah. Well, and is it in a location that's going to be prone? We have somewhere, there's station on either side of a dumpster, and we'll get 240 hits in a month, and then the other ones we don't get any. Do we have to go back there every time we get a hit, or is it squirrels running through there, and setting off a motion activation, right? So hard to say.
So you got to learn how many activations roughly would be worth a visit, but we're doing it frequently because it is a trial, and I've got to give my honest opinion. I have on what it's like for a small business to use this digital solution going forward. I've not made my mind up, but I'll tell you what, I like it. I want to try and get other companies to have it, but it's not obviously. You have to talk about money, and it's
and that's the hurdle too. There is a cost, and honestly, the cost doesn't matter to us, to you and I, because that's going to get passed along to the client. So that means if the client sees value in what you're providing enough, then you can charge anything you want. And like Alex is fond of saying, you're selling data then at that point, and we aren't good at selling data. We don't even know what to do with this data once we get it, right? As I'm speaking at as an industry. So we don't know how to imbue that data with meaning that to the client tells them, hey, your risk is protected, your liability is mitigated, this data is telling us what we need to know, and yada yada. And until we know how to sell that, until we know how to use data to secure a site and provide value to the customer, we're never going to get the money for it. We're never going to get $100 a station to put in a digital station versus they go, well, you can put a $30 or $20 station in that same place. Isn't it going to do the same? It's going to kill the mouse, right? Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. Now, if and this is why I think in highly regulated sites, audited facilities and things like that, they have a higher risk profile. So they're the first ones that are going to be early adopters of a lot of these. I think that there's a lot of opportunity to have this technology trickle throughout the industry. But like I'm saying, there's going to be a learning phase. There's going to be a process.
There is, because I'm learning. Because one thing I have learned so far is a lot of pest technicians will think these are going to replace our jobs that I've learned so far. That's not the case.
No.
Because although the box has gone off and half the bait's nearly gone, that you have to work at how many you're still going to have to go out. You are.
Yeah.
And have a look at what's going on in the box.
Yeah.
And I personally like it, but I'm obviously got to give the whole trial a go.
Yeah.
Going forward, but I like it so far.
Yeah.
Now, whether I can get more companies under it, I imagine a lot of people waiting to see what I think at the end.
Yeah, sure. Well, and so do you have a protocol now for like action thresholds? Like how many notifications do you get? Does that mean you should do something, or do you just start to ignore them? Does one qualify as crossing an action threshold to say, oh, I got a notification, I have to go out to Mrs. Smith's house and look at that trap, or, oh, I got 20 notifications, that means now I have to. Like, and at some point, if you had 1,000 of these out there, 200 of them.
That's true. You'd have to make a protocol.
What do you do? Yeah, you're
because obviously this is local and very local to me, so it's in the same town I live in,
right?
So it's really not a problem. But obviously,
yeah,
I'll try and give it a bit longer because I understand that when it's gone off once or twice, there wasn't really any point in looking.
So
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
but
so
I still do. But
in a given day, and you go out and you do whatever jobs you have, and you go back to an account. How often are you finding some sort of rodent activity? Is it like 50% of the time?
Depends where it is, but yes. But obviously, some of these sites are around buildings and they're in the middle of nowhere sometimes. And it depends where it is. But no, not every box. Some of the boxes ain't touched. It could just be one box on the site.
Right. So if every one of those was a digital station and you got a notification every single time a rodent or something got in there, like how do you manage that? Would you, I mean, you get all these notifications on your phone, you're like, I don't know, I got 200 customers and I got 140 notifications today. You're like, oh my God, what do I do? How do I manage this? What happens now? It's just noise. And I think in the large organizations that adopted some of these, I think that's exactly what happened. I think those notifications went to nowhere because they're like, oh yeah, we have 100 of these stations out now. The service manager's getting 1,000 emails a week, and we don't know what to do with that.
Well, from what I was talking to Gary from Syngenta, and he said, obviously he couldn't say which certain companies do different deals where they only service them when a certain amount of activations have happened, then they go out and they charge them for the call out.
Okay.
And kind of like that. But there's all different ways you can do it, he said. It can be you only go when there's activations, or you can still go and do your monthly services as normal. Mm-hmm. But there's all different ways. But it's a learning. It's going to be a learning curve because it has been for for me, but I'm enjoying it. But I just thought I'd ask you because I see you using digital boxes all the time.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
But that's the only box I've ever used, by the way, just so
Okay.
you know.
Yeah.
Because I opened my mouth on LinkedIn and I said, digital doesn't work for small businesses. The next thing you know, MPTA's asking me if I want to do a trial. I was like, without knowing, I didn't know. I just said it.
Yeah. Yeah. For us, the most successful stuff that has been integrated into our day-to-day operations are digital systems that we're deploying on a case-by-case basis to solve or understand something.
Okay.
We're applying. We have like a stable of different types of digital devices, and we go, okay, this account needs us to bring the cavalry, and we come in, we set up digital, boom, 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 we set up this whole thing. Usually it's some sort of like weekly service visit that we're doing in conjunction with this. We go, say 4 weeks, we collect the data, we analyze what's happening, we come up with what's our control or mitigation strategy or recommendations. That's been the most successful, as opposed to them being static installations in an ongoing program. And that's just for us, and like with what's available right now. That's kind of where we're at.
The ones that we're trialing, you can actually, we haven't done it though, but if you've got a void, you don't actually have to put the box in. You can put the sensor in on a little tray.
Oh, sure.
So if there's any vibrations or if it go past it in the void, you know that you've got, and you don't have to put the whole box in.
Yeah.
But that was pointed out. As well.
We've been using the Pest Sense ones for a while now, and they've been really interesting.
Is that
good? They work as advertised. I mean, they have the multiple motion sensors. They got the bait weighing capabilities. They the whole thing.
Yeah, I heard about that.
We've subjected them to just horrific, negative 40-degree weather, buried under 20 foot of snow, and
I seen that, and they're still working.
And they still work. So I mean, on that sense, they're pretty durable. I don't know if they're selling them in the UK still. I know I'd heard they might not be in the US right now because of the tariffs. I don't know what's going on. Who knows? But I'm hoping for the best for all those guys. So
that's fair enough. It is so.
Yep.
I wanted to get on to, you are part of the New York Pest Management Association. I was reading that off your paper at the back there. So how did that come about? Why did you want to get into? They're a trade. They're a trade.
Trade organization. Yeah, it's a each state under the National Pest. Actually, I have that one right here. The National Pest Management Association is the big one over the whole country, and then the New York State one is just for our state. Each state has actually I think some states don't, but most states have their own state association. I got involved with that. Probably 6-7 years ago. Just as a tool for industry advancement. Like that's one of our core values is for advancing the industry, the future of pest management. Like make a mark on the industry in any way we can, and that's a great way to reach a lot of companies to help things happen. We also had a bit of an anemic state association presence in upstate New York. So New York State's divided in upstate and downstate. Upstate is 90% of the land and 100% of the cows, and downstate is New York City. Is New York City, Long Island, what people think of when they think of New York, the Empire State Building, the Statue of Liberty, that kind of thing. We're 6 hours away from that. So but like us up in the country, we didn't have a lot of programming. There weren't a lot of association events. There wasn't a lot of outreach that was happening up this way. And so I said, well, you know what? If somebody needs to do it, at some point you got to put your hand up and say, I'm that guy. So volunteered to start helping out with that. And that's been a great experience. I've met a ton of people. I do twice a year trips down to the big city for board meetings and stuff. So that's cool.
Don't you do board meetings as well via Teams and that?
We do. There's a spring and a fall conference that happens in New York City. And honestly, I mean, you can cover a lot more ground in person with people.
Oh yeah.
You know, like you go to one thing, you spend a day, and it's like 1,000. It's worth 1,000 Zoom meetings, right?
So what I mean, sorry, I should rephrase that.
Yeah.
You just with the board, do you like? Obviously, that's a smaller meeting. Do you do that on Zoom, like just the board
right.
only?
No, well, yeah, we do some of the board meetings each year are virtual, and then we do 2 in-person meetings every year, and they coincide with the spring conference, which has training and a trade show and the whole big thing, and then a fall conference. Yep. So you'll have member companies coming in and doing credits and vendors there, that kind of thing, and then we'll also do an in-person board meeting down in the city. So
okay, that's nice. I mean,
yeah,
ours are optional. You can go in person, which I have been, or you can join online, because obviously a lot of our board directors are around the country. Some of them it'd be 6+ hours or more to come.
Sure.
So, but it was nice going there. I should have took photographs when I went. I never did. I missed that.
So for you? Is it just the board meeting, or do you have like an event happening as well? Or
we do a yearly Pest Tech event.
Okay.
The National Pest.
Gotcha.
National Pest Technicians Association, and it's in Milton Keynes, and it is the UK's biggest one-day pest control expo, and I'm on the committee.
My goodness, yeah,
I'm helping organise it. But
yeah,
all I'll say is so far it's been learning. It is.
Yeah,
what goes where, and how it all works, and how everything ties together. It's all new to me. That is.
Yeah, we planned a upstate conference for the first time last fall. Holly and I, with some other help from folks, planned that, and man, putting together, and I think it was like, I don't know, 150 person, event with dinner and, or lunch and vendors and, the whole thing. But man, putting something together like that is a task.
About 14,000 to 1,400 people come to this event.
Oh my goodness.
It's not a thing where there is dinners after, but that they're not actually part of the actual main event.
Yeah.
But it's like an expo where there's seminars.
Sure.
People are showing off their products and whatnot, and people giving away freebies. Everyone loves a good freebie.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the sort of thing that happens at these shows. But a lot of people go for CPD, because you get CPD for going.
Yeah.
Because it's educational.
Sure.
But I bet we'd struggle if the whole 1,000 tried to cram up there for the seminars. They wouldn't.
Right. Oh my goodness.
But yeah, it's exciting. It is to be involved.
Yeah.
It was. I was surprised when they said yes, they wanted me. Because I'm not traditional. I'm not from the corporate speak world, you see.
Sure.
And it's good that MPTA is doing a lot of good things, and they're raising the profile, and they're becoming a lot more in the spotlight now. We are.
Yeah.
They've even created some committees now. Like we've got an Ireland committee now, UK committee, Women in Pest Control committee.
There you go.
UK, and I think Next Generation committee, loads of committees, so people can get their voice in there and have an opportunity as well.
That's great.
It's all good moving forward. It is. But with, do you ever do speeches at these events?
I haven't. I haven't done one at the New York Pest Management Association event itself. Sometimes I'm up there introducing people, speakers or whatever. I'll do presentations for some of the Manufacturers Association last couple of weeks ago.
That's the one I've seen.
Oh, yeah.
I read it wrong, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So I'll do presentations to the community, or training things for different groups and organizations, for sure. Yeah.
That's really cool. It's does that get you any work or leverage in your commercial industry, I presume?
Sometimes it does. Sometimes it's I don't approach it with the express intent of gaining clients. I usually come at it to provide some kind of value to whoever the audience will be, craft a message geared towards the audience you're speaking to provide them with some value. In that, they'll typically see, hey, you know what, this was pretty good. This guy seems to know what he's talking about. Let's call them up. If it's towards clients. But honestly, it's for me, it's just I get a kick out of industry advancement. Telling our story. We did something at the there's a museum of science and technology here in Syracuse, and they have this STEM thing for kids, middle school age girls. And we did this whole thing in the museum and set up stations for the kids to try on, bee suits and how rodent control works and insect identification with microscopes. And it was a whole weekend thing we did. That kind of stuff is just like half my staff came there on a weekend to help with that, just because it's just such a cool thing to get involved with. But that's the kind of thing where if that's the people will do more for a purpose greater than themselves than they will even for themselves usually.
Yeah.
So if you can give them that sort of purpose, like, hey, this is great that we're, doing pest control and we're making money and whatever, but we're also going to help these kids that want to learn about STEM. And some little girl's going to go to this thing, some middle schooler, and she's going to look through a microscope and see a world she didn't know existed, and then go into science and become a doctor. Like that sort of thing. You tell that story and that mission, people sign on for that, and they really nice. They get energized. Yep.
It's like Elon wants to colonize Mars. You say the vision he's got is unreal.
Is that what he's trying to do now? I don't know what he's doing. Oh my God.
Did you know that? That's what SpaceX is about. He wants to colonize Mars.
I hadn't heard. Oh my God.
Didn't you know that?
Funny thing, halfway through 2020, I gave up on news. I don't listen to the news or politics.
I try not to.
Yeah.
But I do know his mission.
Yeah, I got completely out of that. I ended up reading about 100 books in a year right after that, and it changed everything for me.
Good.
Right? Like the amount I didn't realize the amount of brain capacity that's sucked up with anxiety and thinking and what if this happens and politics for that. Yeah, it's
depression. It's bad news. Everything's bad usually.
Yeah. And what kills me is 90% of that is stuff you have no control over.
You can't do anything.
I have no control over what our Congress or our government does. I mean, you have one vote and good luck. Exactly. We're in a state that it doesn't matter which way you vote anyway. It's going to, it goes to one party. So why should I then also give all my time and mental capacity to something I can't change? So just redirect all that. I don't play in that.
So with the trade body,
Yeah.
Has your trade body or the national trade body ever, say, a regulation comes in and the opinions of the trade body with all the data attached been able to persuade the regulators for not doing something they were about to do? Have they ever been able to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of our work is in lobbying, outreach for our state association. Our national association does it federally, obviously for like Congress and Senate and stuff. We do it in our state legislature, and we will lobby for or against different bills that are presented. Based on how, our opinion is, what we think is going to be good or bad or whatever. We had a recent one, I think the last legislative session where they were, I think the bill was to ban neonicotinoids use in New York State. So we weren't going to be able to use like fipronil and that sort of thing.
Banned in the UK already.
Yeah, sure. So our argument as a state association was, and this bill did pass, but we got it modified. Our argument was, hey, and it was for this, it was in the name of pollinator protection. They wanted to ban these neonics. So we got a carve out for structural use. So our argument always was, hey, if you're using a neonicotinoid that is applied inside of a kitchen, underneath a sink, into a crack, how many honeybees are we going to likely kill with that application? The answer is probably zero.
That's true.
If we made that argument, and so we rescued a bunch of these materials from being taken out of our toolbox specifically, because a lot of these, I think, if you can present to a lawmaker, hey, there's a labeling change that we can do. They're not even aware that that's a possibility. Let's change the use case for this material, not just ban it. None of our materials are inherently good or inherently bad. You can do bad things with good stuff, and you can do good stuff with bad things, and whatever. So, like, we need to look at how are we using these and then make regulations on that. So we've been able to sort of stave off, even though we're in a state that's very unfriendly to our industry, we have been able to lobby enough and get enough of the right people to listen to get some of these carve-outs and sort of protect some of the interests of the industry in regulation.
That is really good. That is what trade bodies... Not the sole purpose, but they are there to try and protect the toolkit.
Yep.
They are. So that's quite good, that is. So is that why you got into it, to try and help, well, you've already said help push this industry forward?
Yeah, so to me, the regulatory side I wasn't really scared about. I think a lot of the trade association is, I feel like there's a ton of small one-man operations and couple people operations that really could benefit from those connections, that networking. I mean, we've met people through the association that are just absolutely super valuable for us, that we trade, work back and forth, and you have run into a problem and you can call somebody up and say, hey, I have this. Have you ever seen this before? That kind of connection. We're in a sort of unique situation that for most of our even direct competitors right in our market, because we are only marketing towards commercial work, we just aren't a threat to most of the other small operators. We're not playing in the same, we're not directly competing. Like, most of them are people we gave our residential work to. And we'll just be like, hey, here you go. And we can kind of go back and forth and have a really good relationship like that.
That's good, that is.
Yep.
That's really good.
Yep.
Because there's more, I think, like in the pest control industry in the UK, there's more one-man, two-man bands.
Yep.
In terms of companies, than there is big companies. There's more little companies to medium size, and there isn't big nationals, and that's the majority of what makes up pest control. Small to medium size, as Alex Wade likes to say, micro-sized businesses.
Yeah,
I hear him say it a lot. Like that.
It's funny. I wish that the UK had a better handle on how many pest control companies there were and how much revenue total was being done in the year in pest control. Because I've been doing a bunch of analysis for our industry in the United States, and there have been some really telling changes over the last 10 or 15 years. And this last year, we've had some of the first time ever occurrences in our industry. And with that data of what's actually happening, because my assumption for a long time, and we've all said, the backbone of our industry is, small companies, little, the little companies. And right now I can pretty confidently say that is absolutely not the case anymore.
Okay.
In 2002, small companies, like little mom and pop companies, had roughly 40% of the market share in the United States.
Okay.
Today, they have roughly zero.
Is that because the big nationals have been buying up them all?
Yeah. So, yes, exactly. So the consolidation, and there's some stuff. Gabe and I are gonna have our annual industry update. It won't be that interesting for you guys because it's just United States specific. We don't have numbers on UK.
Don't worry.
Yeah, but it has, and literally from 2020 to today, the profile of the industry has basically shut out the small companies. Like, if you look at the estimated size of the industry that our National Pest Management Association comes out with every year, and the total revenue of the top 100 companies, they're almost exactly the same, which means there's no real significant revenue outside of that until this year. And that's something we're going to be talking about next week. So I'm pretty excited about some of the changes and what this means for us.
That'd be fun. But it's not tracked very well in the UK, and a lot of that will be companies not wanting to divulge how much they make.
Yeah, sure.
I would say as well, it's not. They say there's about 10,000 pest controllers in the UK. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's no. I'm going off what Alex has dug round and found. I don't know if that's actually.
Yeah.
I don't know how many pest control companies there are in the UK. I know that how many the MPTA has on their books, but there's obviously different trade bodies as well. Yeah. So I don't know what the whole figure is. But,
right.
But
that's tough.
Maybe one day. I don't know. I don't know. It would be nice to find out how much the UK industry is worth, but if they do it now, it's probably just made up by all the big companies.
Sure. Well, and the big ones would be probably public record, right? They're publicly traded companies that you could get their quarterly reports and you'd know how much they make.
If they are doing it, it's probably that.
Yeah.
You got the likes of Rent-A-Kill, Ecolab, Virgo, people like that.
Sure.
Loads of big companies you have.
Yep.
But
wow.
But thanks for your time.
Oh, Shaun, this was
been
great.
A good one. 1 hour 55 minutes at the minute. Yes.
Oh my God. My God. Okay. Well, we will have to either con or trick Gabe to come on with you, or we'll go the other way. We'll get you on on Coast to Coast with us, and you can talk to Gabe then.
I'd be happy to come on. You can see Gabe. Hello, Gabe. I'm here.
That's right.
Give him I joke, but I really would love to get him on at some point. I would. I know he's trying to build quite a big company, isn't he? $1 million revenue.
Yep. He's trying.
He's doing well. I think he is.
He is for sure. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Thanks, Shaun. I will come on and help you out anytime you need, man.
Yeah, no problem. I'll probably have to get you back on I'm sure we could come up with something at some point. We could.
For sure.
With something else. Have you got anyone? I know what you're going to say. Have you got anyone you'd like to see on this podcast?
Yeah, we can call out Gabe, right? Is that we're just going to keep calling him out?
There we go. He'll come on it one day, Will.
Yep.
But yeah, thanks everyone for watching. If you're with a British Pest Register, you'll be able to apply for it needs 2 hours. It'll be 2 point CPD for this. I will work out the learnings later. And thanks. And also, if you're with the BPCA, you can self-register the CPD in the CPD diary. But there we go. You're helping towards people's educational points for the year. And
I love it.
Right, thanks everyone. We'll see you next week. Adam Holt's back on next week. We're going to talk about AI in pest control.
Oh, that's awesome. I'll be there for that.
But I will end the stream and just stay on for a minute. But see everyone next week. Right, thanks.